We need to be good at sussing out.
You can do it from any point. Let's collaborate instead of compete.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Mentor Nation podcast. If this is your first time here, my name is John Abbas, and I am your host each and every week as we interview just awesome entrepreneurs and creatives that are doing really incredible things all over the world. We have an amazing guest today, but before I bring them on, if you could just take 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you get a notification each and every time I release a new episode, which is approximately every 1 to 2 weeks. So with that being said, my guest today, he's the real deal when it comes to real estate investing. Jennings Smith is an investor. He is the founder of My First Million in Multifamily. Check this out. He has built a portfolio to over $60 million in value in 3 years, comprising of over 1,500 rental units with over $800,000 per month in rents collected. That is a lot in 3 years. His community has grown to over 24,000 members, which obviously he must be doing something right. And that's why his community is growing that fast. But in this episode, we talk a lot about his story, but most importantly, I really try to dive into his step-by-step strategy on how he built a monster portfolio in record time. So I know you're going to love the episode. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, Jennings, thanks for being on the podcast, brother. I'm excited to have you on. Love your freaking story, and I have a million questions to ask you. So, all right. Thank you for being on. So obviously, for those listening in, Jennings here has one of the most interesting stories I've heard in a very long time, and one that I think all of you guys will love because, you know, Jennings, like, you know, people today, like, people love speed. Anytime someone sees anyone that has achieved something, done something incredible, it's great. But when they've been able to do it quickly, it's like mesmerizing. It's like, oh my God, how did they do it? What did they do? And you've been able to build, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but you've been able to build a $60 million real estate portfolio in 3 years, the span of 3 years. And you have over 1,500 units generating close to $1 million a month in revenue. And that's just in the last 3 years. Lord knows what you have planned for the next 3 years. So we'll get into all of that. But I really want to dive into your story, how you were able to do that, and then just transition into some of the wisdom that you've gained over your journey for those listening in that maybe are starting in the real estate journey, or maybe they're spinning their wheels with one rental at a time, one long-term rental at a time. And you know, that was me years ago. It's like one system goes out and it wipes out your entire profits for the year. And you're like, dude, this is just not the way to go. So I'm excited to dive into it, man. But I want to start with just like how you got your start in this journey, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Yeah. I want to touch on something you said there and just appreciate that, like, allure of the speed, right? Where you hear of people doing stuff. And I think it's because, especially in finances and retirement, like, we've all been trained, like, this is the path. You got to save 10% a year for 30, 40 years, get 8 to 10% returns, and you'll have $4 million at the end of when you're 70 or whatever. And you can live on $100,000 a year, which will be 30 grand in today's dollars. But right. So it's kind of depressing. And when you think about, as you're getting older, you know, when I started, I was 35, 36. I had a few rentals, but I was very far away from where I wanted to go and what I thought I was capable of achieving. And yeah, multifamily, commercial real estate, it just helped me to believe and understand, wow, this doesn't have to take 30 years, 40 years. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort for sure. Right. But when you start to realize the scale of what you can do, and I'm not an anomaly. Like, there are many, many people in our Facebook group and deal room that have done exactly what I've done or more, you know, in the same amount of time. You know, 3-4 years in multifamily of focused effort to build a $50 to $100 million portfolio. That is not like, well, yeah, you're the one guy out of a million. Like, that is that is very possible. Now, I'm not going to say it's probably only 4 or 5% of people do it, because that's the only that are going to put in the work and be focused and do it. But
Yep.
But yeah, that was one of the most exciting things, was just that realization of, oh my gosh, I can actually amass 10 million, 50 million, $100 million in net worth. And it doesn't have to take me 40 years to do it, So
Yeah, that's incredible. And I want to spend quite a bit of this interview talking about mindset, because there's a lot of mindsets that I know need to happen for you to be able to do what you did. And I've got some questions around that, everything from like taking other people's money to, the foundation that you've built. So obviously you started at 35, but I'm assuming that you've had big goals, big dreams way earlier. What was the shift that happened at 35 that set off everything? Was there a shift?
Yeah. So when I was when I was young, I would say 15, 16, I had an entrepreneurial bent. I started a window cleaning business.
I did
My
too.
really, that's
Yeah.
that is pretty unique. Yeah. So my dad was always like a window or a entrepreneurial type. He was a realtor, and encouraged me towards that. And so I did that, and I got my builder's license at 19 because I liked to do things with my hands. And I went to college, was working during the summers building little houses, spec homes, rental homes, and I did that, and I thought, okay, I'm this, king of the hill. Like, I'm making six figures right out of college. I'm renovating kitchens and bathrooms. I'm building custom homes now, because I'd built a couple homes at this time. I could attract custom homes, and then 2008 happens. Right. I graduated college in 2006, and 2008, it really started to slow down. And by 2009, I was like dead in the water. I'm talking, my company was losing $50,000 a year. I owed the IRS 15 grand. I owed $20,000 on a Home Depot credit card. I was in the middle of renovating my dream house that I had bought downtown Somerville, where I live. And that was way over budget. I couldn't keep my employees busy. And I would literally work all day. And at 5 o'clock, I would go to Home Depot, buy those little brass peep sights you see on your front door for $5. And I would knock on people's doors with a drill in my hand, like a Makita drill, and say, hey, would you like me to install this security peep sight for $20? I can put it in right now. And, most people would say no, but I could get 4 or 5 people to tell me yes if I did that for 2 more hours, and I could make an extra $100 a day. And I needed that to pay my power bill. Like, it was bad. And I just realized, like, wow, I'm in a really cyclical industry. I'm in construction, and I don't want to be here again. And if I get out of this hole, I'm going to build passive income. I'm going to build real net worth that, in case the economy changes again, which it probably will, I'm going to be ready. And so I dug my way out of that hole, just through working. The economy improved, got through it, got the IRS paid off and everybody. And then I kept building, and I just wanted to build a scalable business that I didn't have to just totally trade my time for money. And when you're renovating bathrooms and kitchens and building people's houses, like, they want you're the guy, right? And so this franchise came along called Alair Homes, and they had systems and processes and ways for project managers to run it and make it a little bit more scalable. And that was really the catalyst for when I started to change. You talk about, like, what was it? It was because I was business minded, but I wasn't around bigger thinkers. And when
That's right.
that saying, think outside the box, is kind of stupid, because you can't think outside the box. You don't even know what the box is. Like, that's all your brain can think is the box. And so for you to think outside the box, you got to have somebody else's box that you're thinking in. They've got to be pouring that into you, and you've got to believe it, that it's possible. And that's what this company did. There was bigger players in there. They had 130 something franchises. I mean, they were doing bigger things. And so I'm getting around these guys, and I'm understanding business a little bit better. And eventually I was just like, listen, I really don't like construction anymore. No matter what I do, I just don't want to deal with clients, and this is not my path.
Yep.
And so I started to transition towards the real estate. So that's sort of was the catalyst, really, was getting around different people. That changed everything. And then I bought a few mobile homes. My first deal I did was like 7-8 years ago. I bought a $5,000 double wide trailer and fixed it up, put somebody in there. They immediately trashed it, stopped paying me. I finally got them evicted and almost quit right then. This doesn't work. But I pressed on, and I got somebody good in there, and I learned how to do a background check on people.
Man, I love this story. And, anytime I meet anybody that is willing to do what you did, right? Knock on people's doors because it's so bad. Like, it's just a matter of time before the stars align, because, the work ethic's there, the desire's there. It's just a matter of time before it clicks. And when it clicks, they go from 0 to 100. I mean, it's just crazy. And it's like, so I owned a restaurant when the recession hit. I owned a coffee shop in Las Vegas. We got clobbered and just lost everything, got into $250,000 in debt, owed the IRS a lot more than $15,000. And I got this job for a month or a couple months and hated it. I started a window cleaning business because I went on the internet. I was like, what's the cheapest business? What's a business you could start for $50? And so I got a window cleaning kit, knocked on doors. But that's really powerful, a testament to just the desire to win and how that will serve you later in life. So I'm assuming that franchise that you got into was a renovation franchise. Is that right?
Yeah, they basically they partner with custom home builders and renovators, and it's like a luxury brand. So it works best with like high end kitchens and baths and high end additions and custom homes. And so that was definitely, it got me out of the trenches of working in my business and got me thinking differently. And I'm looking at, by this point I had 4 or 5 trailers and I had 2 rental homes.
Yep.
And kind of like you, I'm looking at the cash flow and I'm looking at like, I got to replace the roof. I got to replace the air conditioning. Like there's no money to be made really here. I mean, yes, I'm building equity in the house. And luckily I was in a good area so that the property value had gone up over the last 5-6 years. But I had written down that I wanted 1,000 rental homes. I wanted 1,000 rental properties. And when I did the math on that, Grant Cardone says, like, do the math. Like when I did the math on how hard it was going to be to get that many loans and to get that much down payments and to roll, and how long it was going to take, and the cash flow on all that. Because I had real data now off of the properties I had. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be like 70 years old and like I want to be wealthy now. So I decided to go multifamily, and I talked to some bankers and they're like, dude, if you want to do 1,000 doors or more, you got to go commercial. You cannot do this in single family. And I'll still stand by that. Like I know that there's hedge funds that out there trying to buy a bunch of single families, and most of them, it doesn't work. Single family is just, it's an awesome place to start. And I think you need to get momentum, get wins, learn real estate, learn the basics. I would never encourage somebody to not buy a trailer or a single family home, but to stay there, it's like eating hot dogs and macaroni and cheese your whole life. Like there's other foods out there. There's better foods out there. There's better opportunities. And so I started studying multifamily, and you realize, wow, there's enough. The pie is big enough. Like I can raise the money. I can get a partner to help me get these loans, and I can still get a decent size piece of the pie. And over time, as this flywheel starts spinning, I can start doing this stuff on my own, and I can build a significant portfolio. So but I was busy and I was stuck in my business. And so for 2 years, I really just studied and kind of looked, and I played around. Like I didn't really have the action plan. But I finally came across something that was like, here's a 12 unit in North Carolina, 5 hours away, $250,000 seemed like a great price to me. I figured this place has got to be a dump for this price. And it was in a small town, 5,000 people. But so I got my truck, I drove up there, and it was actually nice. Like it was full. The property was nice, older demographic. It needed a new roof, but it was a little dirty on the outside. But other than that, it was good, but it was losing money. And the guy who owned it was an older gentleman. He had a really expensive management company. He had a lot of other bigger properties, and he just wasn't paying attention to this 12 unit. It didn't matter to him that much.
Yep.
And so I went to him and said, listen, I want to buy this, but I need you to give me the loan. Like, because I'm not gonna be able to get a loan on this because your property is not making money. It's not because I couldn't get the loan, which is probably true. I couldn't have gotten the loan, but I said, your property won't qualify for a loan. So he said, all right, well, if you do 30% down, then I'll do the loan. And I said, okay. So now I had the loan, but I needed the $95,000 because I needed the down payment and a little bit extra money.
Right.
And so I put together my little packet that I had learned from my online course, and I, pitched an investor, and he said no, and pitched another investor, and he said, and I was trying to say, like, hey, I get 60% of the deal, you get 40% of the deal. And so he said, well, why don't I get 60%? I'm bringing the money. And I pushed back. I said, listen, this is a great deal. I have a plan. We're going to make money with this deal. Money's everywhere. Deals are hard to come by. And I just kind of postured back.
Yep.
And he's like, all right, that's fine, whatever. And he took the deal. And so we did the deal and implemented like a utility bill back. They had a dumpster on site. They didn't need that because they were also paying for trash service through the city. So I got rid of the dumpster, did the trash. I think I bumped rents like $20. And 18 months later, we got an offer for $410,000. And I never even replaced the roof, actually. I think the next guy did. But so we made like $160,000. And so I got 60% of that. So I made 90,000, investor made 60,000, and he was thrilled. And I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. And because at that point I had already done some other deals, but that got me off on the start of, I can do this. And then I hooked up with some guys that were very wealthy. And they wanted to build a portfolio in the South, and they were willing to sponsor bigger loans, like $2, $3, $4, $5 million loans. And from there we built, to where we are now, which is 1,000 apartments and 500 self-storage units. And
wow,
we're off to the races.
Yeah. Did you meet these guys in a mastermind? Or did you just meet them in?
I met him. Yeah. So it was a conference, and it was really expensive conference. So my cousin and I had started a little property management company together. And I said, dude, I saw this thing on Facebook, and it's a conference. It's up in Ohio. It's $5,000, but I think it's gonna be worth it. This guy is gonna teach us how to, do the Burr model on apartments, and like he has all these units, and so my cousin's like, dude, that's a lot of money because we got flights, we got hotels, we got the conference ticket, but he agreed, and because I was like, dude, I'm doing this with or without you. So you can split the cost with me and you can come along for the ride, or you can, or whatever, but I'm doing it. And so he agreed, and we went up there, and that conference was where we met our loan sponsor. So the guy throwing the conference, he would work with you too, but I met this guy, and he was looking for somebody like me. He represented a really wealthy guy, and they were looking for operators. They were looking for people to hustle for them. And I'm like, dude, I can hustle, and so he had a deal down in Charleston, in Ravenel, like a trailer park. And I went out there and underwrote it. Like, I got bids on paving the roads, selling off a portion. And I finally came to him and said, listen, this is not a good deal. You have this under contract for about $1 million too much, and you need to cut this deal. And so I'll never forget this. He looked at me, he's like, well, we're not going to do that deal, but I like you, we're going to do a deal together. And a month later, we found a 19 unit, and he's like, yeah, we'll sponsor the loan. We'll bring the entire down payment. Boom. Got that thing closed. And then 2 weeks later, we brought him a 60 something unit in Goose Creek for $4 million. And he's like, we love it. But we're not going to bring the down payment. You gotta raise the down payment. So he brought a few $100,000, but we had to raise like $1 million for that down payment. And we closed that. And then it was like, we've worked together ever since. So
Wow. So I have a lot of questions, but man, there's so much good wisdom in everything that you're saying. Like, if somebody listens to this interview, they will pick up on all the small things, everything from just thinking big, surrounding with the right people. It's just like investing in yourself, going to a conference, being around the right people. I mean, it's really powerful. So I have a few questions around some of the things that you said. So you started with a small unit. Like, so you have one partner, is just a friend of yours. Like, what is your strengths? Like, obviously I know you have a construction background. Where did you learn like to underwrite deals? Like, did you just teach yourself through courses? Like how did you get that knowledge?
So I started with the course.
Yep.
There's some videos and they give you a spreadsheet, and that's helpful to some degree, but you don't have a real live person like, hey, what about this? You didn't do that. And I really wish that I had somebody. I think I would have gone a lot faster if I'd had a person looking over my
Right.
shoulder.
Right.
And I could have done that through that program, but it was like $20,000 or $40,000 for their mentoring, and I couldn't afford it. Honestly, I did not
Yeah.
have that kind of money at the time. And but that was like where I started. And then when I went to that conference, they taught you a little bit more about underwriting, but still very rudimentary. I mean, we're talking 3-day conference, pretty rudimentary. But where I really learned it was the guy that I partnered with. Those dudes, I mean, they had assisted living facilities, they had commercial real estate, they had multifamily, they did development stuff. Like, they're sharks, they're in a good way, like good guys, but sharks. Like, they knew non-recourse debt and how to qualify for this Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. I mean, these guys got private bankers, they got private jets, like they were sharp. And so
Right.
he showed me. I would take a pass at the underwriting, and then he'd tear it apart and be like, dude, what about this? And then we finally got to it. And then we built our own spreadsheet together. And that was really where I mastered it. And now in my mentoring group, I've got a guy who's a former, finance, CPA, MBA in accounting, and he has rebuilt my spreadsheet, and we have him on our calls every week to underwrite deals live with us. And so he's helped me get sharper too. Even though he's sort of like, he's in my group, but he's smarter than me for that. So
That happens
I'm good with
sometimes.
it. Oh yeah, I'm good with it.
That's awesome. Was it Rod Cleef? Was that the guy that you were
No, it was a guy named Tim Bratz.
Oh, yeah. I don't know him well, but I know dude, Tim's a boss. Like,
Yeah, Tim helped me. He's an awesome like motivator and visionary, like vision painter, where he can show you where you can go with this stuff. And he flips the syndication model on its head, where most of the time you're giving away 70-80% of your deal to the money, whereas he was looking for these heavy value add, high preferred return, and he would keep 20-30, or he would only give away 20-30% of the deal and keep the lion's share. And there's pros and cons to that. I'll tell you, because I've done both. But it got me like excited and thinking bigger, because up to that point I had done a couple trailers and a 12 unit, and he just opened my mind to building a large portfolio. And he also introduced me to Mark Evans, who is my mentor and his mentor. That he has a program called the Dealmaker Family, and it's a high-end mastermind. And that was my next kind of journey of growth. I mean, it's $50,000 a year to be in this mastermind. And if you'd asked me that 3 or 4 years ago, I'd been like, you're insane. I would never pay somebody that to just have access and hang out with them. But that program helped me build my education company that's doing $1 million a year. So it's like, was that a good investment? Absolutely. I mean, and they have connected me with other opportunities. That it's just crazy how it's not how do you do it, it's who do you attract to your life. You have to attract the right people into your life that can speak bigger into what you're doing.
I love that. I mean, of course, the education, it's no matter what it costs, it's worth it if you're ready for it at that time. Like it's just like the underwriting, right? unless you're in it and doing it, you can read all the books in the world, but like until you're actually in a deal where you have to underwrite that deal, where you're having to think about like this and that and this cost. I mean, it's just two different types of education. So very, very, very powerful. So here you are, you have an education company, which I want to talk about here in just a second, because that's really important, because obviously you teach and you help a lot of other people get into syndication. Actually, let's just cover now. What is your education platform? Can you share a little bit about what you do, what you help people achieve, how it works?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of evolved out of a really uh, basically, I started a Facebook group, my
Mm-hmm.
first million in multifamily, and I started it just simply to like attract investors to me and attract deal flow. Like if somebody's in there, they have a deal and they know that I'm the admin of the group, maybe they'll want to partner with me or let me see their deal, or maybe they'll want to invest with
Right.
me.
Right.
Give me credibility as an expert in multifamily. It was why I started the thing. But I took it seriously. Like we did 2 shows a week where we interviewed somebody and we taught something. And I mean, I kept all the spam out. Like, I mean, I'm in that group every day working it, like making it valuable, not just another crappy Facebook group that's full of spam. And so as we built and developed this community, it grew really well. I mean, we're at 25,000 members in that group now. And
Wow.
so
Wow.
engaged, a very engaged group. And so as people were like reaching out to me, like, how do you do this? Like, I want to learn how to do this. And I'd have calls with people. I mean, I'm talking like multiple times a week, and 90% of them would never do anything. And that's really frustrating.
That's right.
And then you start to realize, why do people charge for education? And it isn't to make money necessarily. It's a barrier to entry. It's like, are you serious? And are you going to do what I say? Because what I give you for free, you don't value, like you don't care
100%.
most of the time. And like with me going to that conference, like, man, I spent $7,000 to be up there. Like, I'm looking for partners. I'm looking for opportunities. I'm paying attention to what they're teaching. Like, I want to apply it. I don't want to feel like a moron that just wasted all my money doing this. And so I realized, okay, I've got to help people. And so we built a full $2,000 course. And I was excited about the course. I now had something I could give to people, but the course was not getting people results. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, like I thought my course was good. But I was kind of like, when I bought the $1,000 online course from Michael Blanc, which was a great course, but for 2 years, I didn't get any results.
Right.
The same thing was happening to my students. Like, they're buying my course, they're loving it, it's good information, but very few people were closing deals from the course. And I realized what people need is a deal room. They need like a community. They need the network to keep them accountable, to keep them motivated, to tell them like, do these 10 things over and over and over, and it's going to happen for you. But then when they found an opportunity to be like, cool, this guy can sponsor your loan, this guy can help you raise the money, this guy can be your boots on the ground, this guy can help you underwrite it, make sure it's right, we'll go over your deal with you live every week. And just to build a family around people that are pushing their goals forward. And that worked. Like, I mean, I would say my program, I mean, I don't know how other programs compare, but if you're in our Facebook group, you see us posting multiple deals every single week coming out of a group of 300 people. Like, every week, deals are like live deals are coming out of that group. So it's super effective because we modified behavior. We assign you to a small group, you have a sprint leader, you write out your goals and what you're going to do. And we know, like, you want to get in a deal, you got to raise money, you got to attract the loan sponsor, and you got to find deals. And so if you take the leading indicators on those 3 things and you push on them, it'll happen. I don't know when it'll happen. Maybe in a month, it might be in 6 months, but it's going to happen. But most people, they push on it for a week or 2, and then they give up and they say that didn't work, and they stop. And that's what I did, because we're busy and whatever. But and then when you have somebody, I placed my network, so other syndicators, other rich people, other multimillionaires, because I can't close everything. Like, I don't want to put myself as the bottleneck of, if I like your deal, I'll partner with you and take it across the finish line. So I share the wealth, and I just plugged all of my network into the deal room as VIP members. And so now they can, like, I had a deal, got 88 units in Columbia, South Carolina. He wanted me to look at it. I looked at it. I didn't like it. There was one thing I didn't like about it. I was like, I don't want to do it. But what did he do? Boom. He talked to a couple other people in the deal room and he closed the deal last week. So they closed the deal and it was a good deal. And it's just like, I didn't want to close that deal, but I didn't bottleneck that guy's future. And that's how I feel like a lot of these other education programs are. They hold this carrot out, like, we're going to close these deals for you.
Yeah.
With the caveat of if we like them, and we only like 1% of these deals. And so 99% of the people, they get bottlenecked, and it's like you're letting somebody control your future. I didn't want that. So that's the way I built it.
That's really awesome. I really appreciate just your genuine honesty and transparency in like all of this. Like, it's really, really refreshing. Many
Thanks,
people
man.
that have any type of educational platforms or anything, it's just like, they don't go into that kind of detail, right? They don't ever say, oh yeah, I did this and people didn't get results. And it's just really, really refreshing to hear that. So I just have a couple other questions. So obviously a lot of experts are predicting a recession, a market slowdown. Like, how has that affected your strategy at all? Are you adjusting anything? Are you are you optimistic about more deals coming into the pipeline because of the slowdown? Like, what's your mindset? And then what's your strategy for the next 12 to 24 months?
Okay, I'm probably going to tell you something that's opposite of what everyone else is telling you, because it's like kind of it's cool and you sound smart if you're like, oh, we're on the brink of this and there's going to be so much deals and I'm going to keep all my powder dry and I'm just like still conservative. Like, idiots, go ahead, sit there for the next 18 months and I'll just keep closing deals. And so
That's right.
I'll be rich and you'll look smart. I don't care. But I'm going to keep closing deals. So my thought is, like, there's definitely some shifts that have happened. I mean, we see the rates. But I've been saying this for about 2-3 months, and that is that Powell is going to slow down, and we're going to get dovish, not making moves over the spring and summer, and then possibly summer and fall will start pushing the rates back down, or they'll start pushing the rates back down. Then the market's going to go nuts, right? And so you're looking at sellers who are sitting on properties that are, maybe they want to sell, but not forced to sell. So how I've positioned myself is I'm not taking on any short-term debt, right? I'm not flipping any houses right now. I'm not taking on those 3-month, 6-month, 12-month hard money loans. Absolutely not. I'm not taking on adjustable rate mortgages. Everything I'm doing is minimum of 5 years. And anything that I had that was on bridge debt, I sold. So I saw this back in December, like about 12 months ago. I started freaking out on a couple of my deals that were on adjustable rate mortgages, 2 years, interest only. And I'm 8 months into them and I'm seeing like, I don't know, we're printing all this money, COVID, prices are super high.
Yep.
Like, I'm dumping this crap. And so one deal I sold, and we only halfway stabilized it and we sold it early. We made about $1 million profit on it. And then the other one, we waited longer and we ended up netting like $60,000 on a $6.1 million deal. I just released the podcast episode. If you want to hear about my failed deal, it was not pretty, but,
yeah, I can't wait. I listened to one other one, but yeah, I'd love to hear this one.
Yeah, it just came out today, but, it's like, having to stop the preferred return to your investors, having to explain like all these missed projections. I mean, it was not good. But that's the truth. Like, sometimes just because I'm teaching this stuff doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I did insulate myself and I made moves early enough to avoid some of the pain that I could be in or would be in now. But my thought is, just my opinion, I don't think the rates are going to go up to 10%. I think that, maybe one more rate hike, maybe 2 more rate hikes, smaller ones, hopefully tapering off. And I think that if you're in multifamily right now, you're going to hold on if you can. I mean, there's definitely going to be a few people that they got they've got to get out, right? Their loan's maturing. They've got to get out. They can't refinance. So they just got to sell. That's going to happen. But I mean, not a huge demographic. And then there's going to be other people that are spooked. They're scared and they're just like, I want out, and they're going to sell maybe at a bit of a discount. And those are the ones I'm looking for. But to think that the bottom's going to drop out and we're going to recreate 2009, 10, and there's going to be houses for sale or apartment complexes for sale, 50 cents on the dollar. Good luck. That you're dreaming. You are absolutely dreaming.
Yeah. Grant Cardone says the exact same thing. He's like, this is going to be nowhere near 2008 because we have all these investors sitting on the sideline. I mean, they're going to scoop it up. Like he went into a whole detail on one of his posts on that. So,
well, people only sell when they have to sell. And dude, for the last 3 years, I've been locking up, 10-year, 12-year Fannie Mae, 3.6% interest only for 3 years, amortized over 30. Like, why am I going to dump that property because I'm scared? Like, you're insane. Rents do not go down. Like, across the board, rents don't go down. So if I've underwritten correctly and I'm not having to project like 15% rent increases for 3 or 4 years in a row, but if I'm like, my deals make sense where the market is today, and as long as the market rents don't get worse, my vacancy going up, I'm going to be fine. And so that's where I think that you've just got to keep on looking for those good deals. And in 2022, I did realize, wow, 2021, I stretched a little bit. I feel like I overpaid a little bit on 2 or 3 assets, which we then dumped. And I'm not going to do that in 2022. So 2022, I bought not much. I mean, I bought a self-storage facility in Alabama. I bought a property in Ohio. And one other thing, I can't remember, but not much. And but they were great deals. I mean, we're talking 300 self-storage units for 1.4 million and a 34 unit for 1.2 million. That was full, like home run deals. I'm not getting hurt.
Wow.
And I got 5-year loans on those. So I'm not, my advice to investors out there is in the multifamily space is just keep finding the good deals. Do not sit on the sidelines and wait. Build your investor base, continue to build those relationships with brokers, and look for those opportunities. But the opportunities are now. They're not going to get exponentially better. The opportunities are right now. Grab them right now.
I love that. Jennings, where's the best place to follow you? Follow your content, access your Facebook, like where, if people want to.
Just my name, Jennings Smith Jr., JenningsSmithJr.com. My podcast is there. My free Facebook group link is there. Awesome. My deal room application is there. All that stuff, that anything you ever want to know about me is there. JenningsSmithJr.com.
Well, Jennings, I really appreciate you pouring into everybody today. Just a great story, tons of wisdom, just a lot of mindset as well. And just you ended it with an action. So I really appreciate your time today. And I can't wait to hopefully have you on 3 years from now when you have 10,000 units. But I appreciate everything today, man. And wish you all the success in the world, brother.
Yeah, John. Thank you, dude. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate the interview.
Absolutely.